Winter is coming. On this week's episode of Tab Talk, I'm going to show you how to winterize your 2021 Tab 320. Stay tuned. Before I jump into this week's episode, I want to give a special shout out to Sara Mordecai. Sara has been a longtime member of the Tab groups online. A couple months after I bought my new Tab, I got a message from Sara. She pointed out that I needed a new pin to match the new color of my Tab. Previously, I had purchased one of her pins in the turquoise or teal color that matched my Tab. Well, this message came right before I went on vacation. When I returned from vacation and started sorting through my held mail, I found this pin, and this cute pin was in the mail from Sara before I even had a chance to order it. So thank you, Sara. For those of you who aren't familiar with Sara's work, she can be found online under 3 Moon Studio, and I'll go ahead and drop the links to her sites in the description below. Thanks, Sara. There are 2 primary ways that people winterize their Tabs or other RVs. They can blow it out with an air compressor, and to do this, you'll need a special fitting. One side of the fitting will connect to the water connection in your Tab. The other side of the fitting will connect to the air compressor. If you use this method, you'll want to make sure that you don't go beyond 50 pounds of pressure for your air compressor. If you don't have an air compressor that allows you to set your max PSI to 50 pounds, go ahead and use your water pressure regulator in line with the fitting to the air compressor so that your max PSI is limited to 50 pounds to prevent any damage to the plumbing in your RV. The next method people like to use is RV antifreeze. Now, I've done both methods and honestly never had a problem with either one, but in some cases, the antifreeze is easier, especially if you're traveling and have a 2021 Tab with a Nautilus water system. A lot of people seem concerned with RV antifreeze. Let me put your mind at rest. RV antifreeze is non-toxic. What does that mean? If you were to accidentally consume it, and I don't recommend consuming it, but if you were, it wouldn't hurt you. Actually, some of the same ingredients in the RV antifreeze can be found as preservatives in many foods you're familiar with. Some people like to use vodka or other alcohols to winterize. There's no advantage. It's actually probably more expensive to use those than it would be the RV antifreeze. But some people like the novelty, and if that's your thing, you can go ahead and do it. I'd rather stick with the tried and true method, the RV antifreeze. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't have any alcohol to use. I prefer to pick up the RV antifreeze, which can easily be found. It can be found at any of the big box stores, including Walmart, Home Depot. Pep Boys often has it. A lot of different auto parts stores like O'Reilly Auto Parts will carry it, or you can get it at Amazon. What I like about the RV antifreeze is you can pick it up at almost any Walmart, and it's less than $3 a gallon. That's not very expensive. First of all, I've already drained my freshwater tank and my Alde low point drains. I did this on my way home from my last camping trip. Why do I do this? Because gravity helps you get the water out. As you know, if it's standing still, just think of a cup of water. If you dump it, there's still some water in there. Especially if you have a lid on it, you have to try really hard to get all the water out. It's the same with your freshwater tank. So I let gravity help a little bit. Next, you'll want to drain the Alde hot water tank. To access the Alde hot water tank, you'll need to access the bottom bench cushion on the rear driver's side. It is yellow and flips up. You open it up until you're done hearing it and seeing it drip out, and you'll know it's empty. When you've drained all the fresh water out of your Tab, you're ready to add the antifreeze. You'll simply add a garden hose connector, and it can be a scrap of garden hose, or you can order one. I ordered one and cut off the end so that it would fit into the antifreeze gallon easily. But whatever you use, it screws on to the left side of the Nautilus water system. That's the part that's marked for sanitize or winterize. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and change the Alde bypass valve. That's the red lever on the left side of the hatch area for the Nautilus. Flip it up. Next, you'll take both the blue and the green valves, and you'll make them horizontal. That's in winterize mode. Once you've done that and have the antifreeze ready with the garden hose end inside of the gallon, go ahead and turn on the pump and then open faucets. Once the faucets are open, the antifreeze will begin to flow, and you'll begin to see the pink solution work their way through the faucets. But don't forget while you're at it, to open the toilet so that it comes into the toilet. I like to let enough into the toilet that I can get it into the black tank, or in this case, the cassette toilet, and then close the toilet and let some sit on the seal so that the seal doesn't get dried off over the winter. The last two steps are completed outside. First, go ahead and remove the shower hose until you see the paint coming from the shower hose. If you're having difficulty getting fluid out, remove the shower head until you see it coming out of the end of the hose, and just pour a little of the antifreeze through the shower head itself. The last thing you'll want to do is go ahead and open the gray tank just enough so some of the solution can come out so that your tank doesn't freeze. You might be wondering, when should you start to winterize your RV? There'll be a little judgment required to make this decision. Are your nights going to stay below freezing and your days not really get above freezing? Then hands down, you should be winterizing. If it's going to dip down into the high 20s overnight, but get back up to 50 to 70 degrees during the day, you probably don't need to winterize. At least that's how I do it. I travel in the shoulder season quite a bit, and I've never had a problem with the plumbing. This year, I was in many places in Colorado where it got into the upper 20s at night, but was right up around 60 to 70 degrees during the day, and I had no difficulties whatsoever. The rule of thumb I like to use is that if the temperatures are going to remain below freezing for more than 12 hours, I want to go ahead and winterize just to be safe. It's simply not worth it to risk breaking your plumbing. And it's not that hard to de-winterize, and it's only $3 a gallon to buy a new gallon of antifreeze. What about you? When do you typically winterize in your area? And what method do you prefer? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I hope this video has been helpful to you, especially if you're a first-time owner. I appreciate the time you took to watch it. I'll see you next time.